Fam, it's Jay Sinister and we're back again. And I know you're looking at this Element Enduro Trailrunner and you're saying to yourself, yo man, you keep showing us the same thing. What's going on? Well, there's a reason why I'm doing this. And before we jump into all that, let's do what we got to do to pay those bills and roll that intro footage.
Jay Sinister Production.
All right, fam, we're back. And before we go into why I have this same body shell in front of you, I just want to say thank you to all of our subscribers, and to our new subscribers, thanks for giving us a chance. And if you are watching this video right now and you're unsure as to whether or not you should subscribe, let me tell you now, you should subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost you a dime. Just press that button, click that mouse, and subscribe to Jay Sinister Productions. Now, let's move on. So we're looking at the stock body shell for the Element Enduro Trailrunner 4x4. And I know that you've seen the previous video where I've already painted a body shell. Well, the reason why I'm standing before you today with this body shell is because I want to show you what I've done underneath. And on this side, you'll see it's pretty much wide open. But if we move a few things out of the way and turn her around, you may notice a little bit of a difference. Not much, but a little bit of a difference. And it's right in here, inner fenders for the Element Enduro Trailrunner 4x4. Let me pop the top so you can see that a little bit. Put this to the side. And here we go. We have some inner fenders. I've already done just one side. I'm going to do the other side on camera for you, and I'm going to move to a top-down view in a second so you can see these fenders. But these inner fenders are 3D printed, and they come from Spare Time Hobbies, and I'll go over the details of that in a second. So stay tuned for the top-down video, and also stay tuned to a video of me doing this step by step. And let me just be upfront with you now. It's going to be hard to see what I do. I'm just going to run the video with some music so you can watch me put it in, but I'll go over some details before we jump into that as to what I did to put these fenders on. We'll also talk about pricing, any difficulties of doing the prints. And speaking of the scale detail, let's move into the 3D printed fenders from Spare Time Hobbies. Now, I've already got one set on, and this is the right set. This is the front 3D printed fender, and I'm going to roll some footage over top of this as I talk about it from Spare Time Hobbies so you can see what they have to offer. But in essence, in your kit, if you print this out, you'll get a few items. You'll get one front inner fender, and you can tell it's the front inner fender. There are two slash marks here, and it's going to be hard to see on camera, but there's two angled slash marks right there. That's your front inner fender. Then you get your rear inner fender, and this has four, as you can see here, five slash marks, angled slash marks here. That's your rear inner fender. Then you get some connection pieces that kind of tidy everything up, and you'll see that once I show you the top-down view of the Element Enduro. And in addition to that, you also get this centerpiece that will preclude you from having to use the rear cross brace mount. If you so choose to delete that, you can put this in instead, and that cleans up that bottom side of the Trailrunner so you can't really see much into the vehicle. And if you can't see much into the vehicle, then a lot of dirt and crud won't be able to get into there either. So this is just one side, the side that I haven't put in, of the 3D printed parts that you will install on this Trailrunner. Now, if you don't have a 3D printer, you can purchase directly from Spare Time Hobbies, and they'll print these parts for you at a premium. And it's going to take a few days just to get them printed and a few more days to get it to you. But if you have a 3D printer, you can download the STL file at a much greater reduced cost than it would if you were to have them printed. And we'll go over those as I do the top-down video. So let's go ahead and set up the angle for the top-down and take a look at this Element Enduro Trailrunner and how these inner fenders fit and how they look from what I've done so far. Let's change angles. You'll see that I've already installed the inner fenders for this Element Enduro 4x4 Trailrunner. And it consists of four parts. Your inner fender, which is here, Then you have another piece that bolts to the body and the inner fender here to kind of clean up this hole that would be in this spot. Then you have a third piece that again bolts to the body and then to the rear inner fender that will clean up this hole in this area. And then finally you have the rear inner fender. The inner fenders that bolt to the body, they use the stock, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but they use the stock mounting hardware and places to mount this up to the body, so you don't have to get any additional mounting hardware. Now with note, to attach these, I call these the cleanup covers, so to speak, and I'll get the more detailed name in a second, to the inner fender and the body, you will have to supply your own hardware. Now, let's go into some details about what you'll get and how much it's going to cost. So if you want to buy this pre-printed from Spare Time Hobbies, the front fender and slider joiners, and that's what these little pieces here are right here. These are called the slider joiners. And these slider joiners, if I turn the body around, are these parts here and here that attach the inner fender to the body and close off the gap that would be here, be right here, if you just put the fenders on without these slider joiners. So if you buy the front fender and slider joiner, that's going to be $16. For the rear fender and slider joiner, that's another $16. For the bed, it's going to be $8. And if you want to use what they call their incognito mounts, that's going to be another $2. And then you can buy the hardware from them as well. And it ranges from $4.50 for all the hardware that you'll need to make these attachments at the various points where I use my own hardware. Or if you choose to, and you have a 3D printer of your own, you can print this off yourself by downloading the file, which contains all the pieces that you need except for the hardware, for only $4.95. So if you choose to do it that route, you can save yourself a lot of money. But of course, you have to supply your own 3D printer and the filament of your choice in order to do that, to save that money. You don't have to do any drilling or any sanding to get any of these parts to fit. When Spare Time Hobby designed these inner fenders, they did an excellent job in their design and fabrication, and everything fits up and mates up to the body smoothly with less effort on your part. So with all that said, let's move over to the bench and get the other side installed. All right, fam, we're now back on the bench and we're going to continue the install of the inner fenders for the Element Enduro Trailrunner. I've already pre-removed a few of the screws that you'll have to remove, but I'll point those out to you now. At the rear of the frame, you'll see here and here, there's two screws that remove from the frame that secure, and these are on both sides, that secure the rear bumper mount to the frame. So you remove this screw and this screw. Then also from the shock tower, you're going to remove this screw, and also on the other side, another screw for the shock tower, and you'll remove the shock from the shock tower screw here. So once you remove all those, you can move on to the next step. Now, if you choose not to run this factory rear brace, which I've chose not to, and you do want to run the 3D printed rear brace that's going to cover up this hole here, and let me change the shot so you can see what I'm talking about. Put it on its side. Here's that 3D printed brace that covers up this entire area that would be left open, because the stock factory brace would essentially, this is going to be a bad fit, but it's going to fit right in here, and then everything else would be wide open. So if you're going to run that setup, which I chose to, when you remove your bolts, your screws on both sides of the rear of the frame, you'll be able to access and pull apart the frame a little bit and install this piece right here, and all the holes will line up perfectly, and you'll see that once you do it. But I've already installed it, pre-removed all the screws from the rear to speed up time a little bit. So I'm going to move forward, and at this point we're going to bring in the rear fender, which looks just like this, and you'll know it's the rear because it has these 5 slash marks right here. So that's your rear fender. You have a cutout for the shock tower. You have right here these little slider holes. This is where the shock tower is going to, there's little pegs on the shock tower that will mount inside of these holes so you can move this forwards and backwards. And then you have 6 pre-drilled or pre-printed holes right here. And you're going to use the holes, and I believe, and I'll show you these, you'll see those when I install it. I believe it's this hole and this hole. So you'll use those 2 holes to mount it to the body. So we'll move along with that. We're going to do a little music, less talking, only if I need to, and show you how we do the install. So without further ado, let's press. Fam, this is a very difficult shot to film and do at the same time, so I decided to stop real quick just to show you how this rear fender should mount and look once you've got it positioned. Now, if you look towards the rear of the fender, back here where these hash marks are, you'll see that the holes are not lined up. But if you take your hand and put it behind the fender and hold the frame and press forward, you'll see that your holes will line up. And in doing this, the rear holes that hold the rear bumper mount will line up. Once you've got those all screwed in, it will line up the other holes for the shock tower to attach to the frame and the body brace. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you the finished product. All right, fam, we got the rear fender installed, and I apologize because this is extremely difficult to see because of the lighting, but I'll try to point out that everything is lined up. And you'll see, and this is going to be a little blurry, but got one screw here for the shock tower mount, the other screw for the shock tower mount, and you use the third hole to the rear on both sets of holes to mount your shock tower mount to the body and through the cross brace. And then you also use your stock mounting positions here at the rear for this. Right, get in there. For this hole and this hole to mount for the shock, the rear bumper mount. So that gets the rear rear inner fender is mounted and secure. Now we're going to move forward, and you'll see a small hole right here, if I can get that into focus, right there. And that's going to be where we mount the little cover that's going to, in essence, clean up this area here that is wide open because of the rear fender. Now you do not have to mount that if you don't want to. Let me give you another look here so you can see what I'm talking about top side. Okay, looking down top side, this is the area that I was speaking of that is wide open. So you do not have to do this next piece, and there's going to be another piece up front that you can't see right now, but we'll move to when we get the front fender. But there's a cover here, and I'll get the technical name and put it up. I keep forgetting what it's called. That will, in essence, shore up this hole right here so that there is no opening and no gap in this part. So let's move on and do that piece next. I did find some hardware that I had laying around. I don't know the exact dimensions, but I do know that the manufacturer states that for the button size screws, you need 14 3x6 millimeters, 4 3x8 millimeters, and 4 2x12 millimeter cap head screws. I'll pop that up so you can get those dimensions for the hardware, but if you have some hardware laying around that will work, I suggest you use those, or you can go out and buy those screws. So let's move on, get this next piece installed, and then we'll move to the front. Didn't have to do much as far as the holes. Everything lined up and was the perfect size for the hardware that I did have on hand. For the 1 or 2 small areas, again, due to printing issues, I had to use a body reamer and open the holes just a little bit in order for the screws to fit. But everything fit perfectly. It looks good. The body's still nice and square. These fenders have just enough flex to them and without being overly rigid. There is one part that I did not install, and that is this rear bumper, and that simply fits to the rear. You'd have to remove the tailpipe and slide this right in, and it will basically fit, tuck up under there with the tailpipe and affix to these 4 holes here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll screw into these 4 holes. Let me see if I can get some lighting on it. Here's one here, 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 and here, and it bolts to the bottom with these existing holes and fits right up in it. But I've already used the Knight Customs bumper, which is going to fit right up under the body. It will be fixed to the body with glue. And to show you real quick that there are no clearance issues as far as putting the body back on, let's go ahead and use the stock body and slip that on. So we'll throw it on. And this is at the part where I was like, oh, I'm going to have clearance issues because it wouldn't smoothly fall on into place. But you just open up the body a little bit, make sure it falls down into the side channels for the the rock sliders. Once you do that, line up your holes, your post mount holes, you'll find them. Everything fits, boom, nice and neat and tight. Post holes, all showing through, no clearance issues. Flip her over, and now not as much light and dirt and debris will get in because we have those nice inner fenders all installed. Again, thanks to the folks over at Spare Time Hobbies for allowing me to print this, and allowing anyone for that matter, for $4.95. You can buy the printed product directly from them for a much greater cost, but for $4.95 to print these in PLA in the filament that I already had existing, you can't beat it. So fam, we've come to the end of another installment for this Element Enduro Trailrunner. Easy upgrade, simple, especially if you have the right tools, the right amount of patience, and you have your own 3D printer. You can get this done in less than a day, maybe 2 if you're going to do some painting, so that you can have a nice matte type finish on those inner fenders. So I'll leave you with some parting shots of the Element Enduro Trailrunner so you can see in different angles how the inner fenders look. And as always, thank you for subscribing. We appreciate you at J Sinister Productions. If you haven't subscribed and you've made it this far to the end of this video, hey, consider hitting that button. It's well worth it, and you can tell the content we put out is pretty much, it's universal for everyone. We try to think it out before we do the build so we can show you every angle, and if we can't, we let you know that. We're upfront, we're honest. But again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for subscribing. Leave some comments. Hit that like button, and oh, we're getting close to 100 subscribers. On our Instagram page about a month or so ago, we had announced a giveaway that we're going to do at 150 subscribers. We may change that and do it at 100. So the closer we get to 100, we'll do another YouTube video detailing what you need to do to win the giveaway. And again, it's free. We don't care about your address. We don't want to know where you live at outside of shipping items to you for free. No shipping, no cost to you. So if you're worried about your address, it's safe. Once we ship to you, shred, gone, delete, we'll never see it again. But we want you to have some free swag from things that we feel that you would like and we don't need anymore. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I am Jay of J Sinister Productions, exiting stage left.